What's going on? Well, it was better than last night. That is for sure. At least according to me. I don't know if I should be that definite. It's for sure. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you hated tonight. Well, let's start out here. Look at it. Simple and sample. I have been waiting so long for simple and sample, and they finally did it. Although I always imagined in my head it would be sample and then simple. But regardless, irregardless, some would say. All right, where are we? Should we start or should we start? Should we start with the vocal jam? Should we start with the opener? Should we start with the character Zero, the Lonely Trip? All right, guys, hey, what's up? All right, so this is night 2 in San Francisco, the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium. And as you see, they opened with simple. Now, while this first set didn't reach the heights of those first couple of nights in Seattle, I still think those first 4 songs, that first night, the first set in Seattle, is probably my favorite thing from this run so far. They came out hot. They just maybe have not topped themselves since. But, this was a much better first set than last night, for sure. I don't know what the hell was going on last night. I don't know what the hell that was. It took them, 75% of the set to get going. By the time they got to the jam and Haley's, it was like, all right, now we got some things boiling. So early and often tonight they got going. The Punch You in the Eye, the intro to that was it was kind of cool. It wasn't necessarily full on by the books. There was a little. It wasn't like they weren't really out there, improving or anything. But just they felt a little looser, which somehow led to the songs being a little tighter. I don't know. That's go figure. All right, so here we go. Let's go with the simple. And, like those first couple nights, we got some jamming early and often. Not Punch You in the Eye, but the simple. And they were saving all the good stuff for later, if there was any good stuff. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that Tweezer. It took forever. So then the Punch You in the Eye is one of these nights where we almost get 2 openers, really, because that simple was a very cool opener. But then Punch You in the Eye just feels like a natural as an opener. I know Dan Z, big fan of the channel, been calling Punch You in the Eye pretty much every show for like 2 years now. And occasionally it lands, Dan Z. Good job. All right, so then Gumbo follows after that. They tried to give Gumbo a little bit of a jam treatment. I feel like, anytime Mike starts to play around with his tones and it gets a little weird, I'm kind of a sucker for that. So, I kind of was digging this Gumbo jam. Then we get into Reba. And it's like, yeah, you can, you just really want to know, well, like, what's the jam? What's the Trey part going to be like? Once it gets kind of to the quiet, soft part and, the quintessential Phish to some people, the Reba jam. And it was okay. It was, I don't know. It wasn't bad by any means, but there was just something lacking there, I felt like. It just wasn't, it's hard to put it's like, the Reba jams are a little bit like pornography, when it's hard to describe, but when you see it, it. It's like, yes, that is pornographic. This Reba jam, it didn't reach those heights, Then we followed it up with the Well. Shout out to baby Jessica. That one's not gone. I feel like it's kind of come with the Howling, though, And if it does not, then David Bowie following that, similar to the Reba. Good, but not great. We're always happy to hear a Bowie. Kind of felt like it was going to end the set, but then, Trey had to hit us with character Zero. One of his favorites, always going to be his favorite because it gives him a big chance to be a rock star. And sure enough, he was. So then let's get over here to set 2. The first set was like, it was all right. And I didn't hate it like last night. I didn't hate last night's either, but I certainly didn't love last night's. And this was much better than that. I'll just leave it at that, I suppose. There were some good points. And some bad points. All right, so then we look at it. We're going back to the Talking Heads, whatever happened to the British invasion. The Stones, Hendrix, never mind. I don't want any of that. Forget all that. Sample in a Jar opens up the second set. Oh, if he didn't get to show he's a rock star enough, he's going to start out the second set doing the same thing. And then the Tweezer. It had its moments late in the jam. Again, once Mike's tone changes, Page really starting to get involved. Page almost for a few moments there was just like leading, He's like, well, I guess if old Redhead's not going to do anything, man, I'm going to take over and jam this sucker. It went on for like a half an hour, but it took until late to really get going, And so, we've had so many good Tweezers. I don't know where that one ranked. And then Lonely Trip after that, whatever. I'm sick of it. I never did really click with any of that stuff. Nobody wants to think about 2020. Stop playing that stuff, Trey. Quit it. Crosseyed and Painless comes after that, but then it's kind of like mid-set here. Like a lot of things this run, it had its moments, but didn't really just take us to the like, oh shit moment. Pillow Jets, it's hit or miss. Some nights I'm like, that song is fucking unbelievable. Other nights I just hate this song. Tonight it was somewhere in between. Well, I didn't hate it, but it really didn't go. You know, it was felt a little shortchanged on it. They're getting late. They wanted to play You Enjoy Myself. I'm always going to love this, you know, and then it's not for the vocal jam. Rockstar man with the red hair going down. It's not all red. A lot of gray in there now, actually. You know, I know. I got some too. I've had a little bit of gray hair in the sides for like 15 years, but it's never really, you know, taken over everywhere else. It's never really spread. So I'm happy about that. You know, every now and then, though, I see it. I'm like, damn, I'm calling Trey a geezer. Look at me. I look like fucking Paulie Walnuts or something. So the You Enjoy Myself, it wasn't the cleanest, it wasn't the best, but then once again, Mike got a little screwed. You know, Mike didn't get a whole lot of time. He just get this little allotted amount of time for old Gray Bangs over there. And he didn't really, he got Trey hogged up a lot of his time, I feel. Trampolines, why do they bring them trampolines out so early? Why don't they wait? They should hold us in suspense and like bring them out at the last moment. Be like, we're not going to get trampolines? It's like they would if they go into fee and the megaphone's nowhere to be found. All right, so then You Enjoy Myself, continuing the trend of excellent set closers. Okay, never mind, they're not all of them. And then Velvet Sea First Tube. And another thing, it's like I've never been good at calling songs as it goes. Hit 4 out of 5 again tonight, so sometimes I'm good calling the shows. That's 8 out of the last 10. But as the show's going, like sometimes I'm involved with friends or a live chat or just something, you know. X, Fishnet, whatever, wherever it is. There's people are good at like kind of having a feel and calling the next song. And sometimes it's obvious. You hear a T. Like there was a Tweezer tease somewhere early in the first set. Oh, got some Manteca. More Manteca teases tonight. But then in that little pause in between Pillow Jets and You Enjoy Myself, I was just like YEM. Just kind of said it to myself out loud. It's just like it came to me. And then boom, sure enough. Yeah, it was due. But everything's always due. I've just never been good at that, and I wasn't done. After Velvet Sea, we get into First Tube, same thing happened. I was like, First Tube. And then, boom, here we come, First Tube. Trey's doing the thing, you know. The Velvet Sea, First Tube. Velvet Sea felt like, okay, if we were going to get a ballad right here, I actually remembered, I was a little bit late on it. I should have mentioned this earlier. 1 year anniversary. Some of you may remember. After the Sphere last year got married right here in this house and there in the living room. Only the cats were invited. Congratulations to Mary and I. We've made it a year. Me and Mary. How's that work? I don't know. I never have really grasped English well. All right. So I don't know what the hell just happened. I talked for 8 minutes about this show. I'm always going to like this. Sometimes I'm going to like this. I'm dying for this. You know, it's like a Boogie on Tweezer reprise encore, starting each set with simple and sample. Like I said, I always kind of thought it would be sample and simple, but, you know, can't always get what you want, as Mick Jagger once said. We got a little Reba. The Well, huh? The Well sticking around. A lot of this has been a very 1.0 heavy tour run. And no repeats so far. I mean, I guess at this point, if there's been no repeats, what are they going to do? They're going to go into the Hollywood Bow, all of a sudden start repeating Seattle and Portland. They could. It's not impossible, but it just seems like if they've made it 5 shows deep, you're probably not going to repeat anything at this point. So you're going into the Hollywood Bow, looking for some songs that haven't been played yet. Now, if all your favorite songs have been played, you're screwed. Kind of like Peter Dinklage that one time on trial. Game of Thrones. I'm screwed. That's it. That's the whiteboard. I don't know what's happening tonight. I drank a couple beers. I'm not a big drinker. I got drunk. Been married a year, man. You got to pound a few beers. I hate beer. Boom. But I do love you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button. I see some new people have subscribed. It's big time, man. Look at this. Got the venue name down here at the bottom. You never know with these whiteboards. You ever notice how the whiteboards are never the same? Kind of like Phish. And I'll be honest, the whiteboards in my recaps, kind of like Phish, some nights they suck too. I will say them at their best is better than me at my best. I will have to admit that. We share fans, though. Nothing you can do about that, Paige. Punk. All right, I love you guys. Paige is not a punk by any means. Look, I got better hair than him. He's more talented than me. You don't want none of this smoke, McConnell.